Legend of Total War here, and today we're doing another Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires campaign review, this time covering Lord Mazdamundi. So Mazdamundi starts at Hexawadal, the same start location he's had in Total War Warhammer 2, and he has two initial starting enemies. So he's got the Keepers of Bliss, which are a minor Slaaneshi faction, and the Skeggi, which is a minor Norscan faction. So you're beset on all sides. Everyone in the general area here hates you, but these are the ones you start at war with straight away. This isn't a trick start in this campaign, where you run off to go fight someone else. You're in a position to attack this Slaaneshi army, take it out, and then capture the Fallen Gates. Best to do that on turn 1. Now the thing is here is that there's another army at Maku Peaks, and that army, typically speaking, is quite passive. It'll sit there until it's a full stack before it does anything, and it'll, on higher difficulties, out-recruit you, because those demon units are better than what you can recruit early on. So getting Saurus Warriors or Skinks are going to be outclassed by them. So you want to find a way to get this guy out of the city early and stop him from recruiting and sort of take him out before you don't want to have to fight him inside the city, because he'll be reinforced by a bit of garrison. So what you want to do in this sort of situation is capture the Fallen Gates with Mazdamundi on turn 1, but then also on turn 1 recruit another lord, and on turn 2 bring your lord into position about in this general area here, but make sure that Mazdamundi is in ambush stance, and then this lord over here should come out and attack you, which will prevent him from recruiting anything additional, but also give you an opportunity to attack him without the need of his garrison, because it takes a bit of time to get from the Fallen Gates to Maku Peaks, and they can just out-recruit you. So this is probably the best way to split their forces up and take them out piecemeal. After you've dealt with the Keepers of Bliss, that's sort of like the initial challenge there. You still got to deal with Skeggi, but they're also at war with the New World colonies, who also don't like you, but they're going to be most likely to prioritize the New World colonies over you, due to this is a much softer target, although there is some degree of anti-player bias. If you leave yourself in a weakened position, they'll come after you. But yeah, if you can go after them at relatively early stage of the campaign, that would be good, because these guys here can eventually, fairly early on, get access to a lot of Marauder champions, so you want to prevent that. But it's not as urgent as it was in Warhammer 2, because in Warhammer 2, this whole province here was the Isthmus of Lustria, right? The Fallen Gates, Hexawadal, Ziggurat of Dawn, and Skeggi, which meant that their chaos corruption was infecting your province, causing huge problems. But now, Hexawadal province is actually the Fallen Gates, Hexawadal, and Maku Peaks. This one here used to be a major settlement. So once you've taken all of this under control, your control will be under control. So you're not in as much urgency to take these guys out. But with Mazdamundi's campaign, every time you take out an enemy, you're going to encounter more enemies, because Mazdamundi is not super popular in this part of the world, and it'll be a while before you find any friends. It's possible to be reasonably friendly with the High Elves, because they got bigger problems to worry about, but other Lizardmen are quite a fair distance away, like Itza down here, because you got these guys here, and then you've got some Savage Orcs, the Blue Vipers. Then after you've taken them out, you've got Marcus Wolfhard over here, who definitely is going to hate you. And then you've got Alberich de Bordelot, who's definitely going to hate you. And only then will you encounter Itza. So it's a while before you get any friends, if that's what you want to rely on in your campaign. So you're quite isolated. But at least Hexawadal is a rich settlement, because you've got access to gold here, so you'll have resources to handle it. Now, looking at Mazdamundi himself, so Mazdamundi's definitely got some good things to him, but I think he does need a little bit of a tweak. So looking at Venerated, targeting range plus 50% for spells, that's pretty good. That just means that you can cast your spells from longer distance. Winds of Magic power reserve capacity plus 15 is definitely good, but at the start of the campaign is a bit useless, because you start off in a province that is bleeding out Winds of Magic, so Mazdamundi is not going to be very useful in spellcasting in the early stage of the campaign. Although you can mitigate it a little bit by going into channeling stance, you really do need to leg it at the start, and you don't really have that. That's not really worth going into it to deal with these guys here at the start, at least. You just have to hope that the Winds of Magic changes, or you move into a different province that doesn't have as much Winds of Magic problems. Then you've got unit experience gain plus 50 per turn, better than nothing. Reduced upkeep costs minus 50% for Temple Guards. Now, that on paper looks really good. Cheap Temple Guards. Temple Guards are a tier 4 unit, supposedly elite, but I've actually got some pretty big problems with Temple Guards as a unit. I'll get into that in a little bit. But on paper, that looks good. Then you've got miscast base chance minus 50%. So in terms of his Lord trait, about half of that stuff is what second generation Slans get anyway. And then, of course, you've got the reduced upkeep cost and targeting range sort of on top of that. So that's not bad or anything, but some of it is just part of being a second-generation Slan, which is what Mastermundi is. Now, in terms of his unique skills, he doesn't get that much. Like, he's got a unique spell line in that it's a mixed law of magic, where he's got heaven magic, high magic, and light magic. But no, it doesn't have more spells than other Slans. He's just got a mix of them. And some of these spells are okay, but he doesn't have, like, amazing spells from any of the laws. Except for maybe Comet of Cassandora. That's pretty damn useful in Total War Warhammer 3. The only actual unique skills he has, compared to another Slan, is Zlark, Ruination of Cities, and Higher State of Consciousness. All of which are definitely good. Zlark especially, because having a Ancient Stegodon that has access to Barrier, that is regenerating, and also has a barrier replenishment delay minus 50%, is particularly good. So he's a very good melee fighter, and that's really his edge over other Slans. In terms of being a spellcaster, like a really good spellcaster, he's not actually any better of a spellcaster than the other Slans, because he doesn't reduce the Winds of Magic cost, which is more important than having Winds of Magic range, especially considering spells like Apotheosis already have extremely long range to begin with. So it's kind of like boosting something that you didn't really need to boost for the just sake of I'm more powerful than everyone else, but not really. But overall, Mazdamundi is still a very powerful Legendary Lord, both in melee and as spellcaster. It's just that all Slans are good spellcasters. Now, in terms of how I would rate this particular campaign, I think that this is alright as a campaign in Immortal Empires. I think the Lizardmen really do need a bit of a rework, especially with their Geomantic Web. It's a very forgettable faction mechanic, and Mazdamundi doesn't have any sort of unique faction mechanic because he is a base game lord and they typically don't get one. But Mazdamundi's campaign is like sort of moderate in terms of challenge, but hardly the most interesting of the Lizardmen legendary lords. If you're really into Lizardmen, then sure, I'd give it a go, and I'd recommend it, and it's okay. But I can't like highly recommend it over the other legendary lords in the Lizardman faction, nor would I condemn his faction. So it's kind of like somewhere in the middle. I think it does need a little bit of a second look and see if we can make it a bit more interesting. Anyway, that's the end of this one here for Mazdamundi. Let me know in the comments below what you think of Mazdamundi's campaign and this review. Let me know which legendary lord you'd like me to cover next. Appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time. Later, guys. Bye.